But what I've come to find is there's nothing substantial enough outside of me to sustain me. And that definitely includes another person. If I love somebody, I won't even put that responsibility on their shoulders. Like, you have to be the reason that I'm happy and that I'm fulfilled and that I'm whole. That's like, do I really love you if I put that responsibility on your shoulders? Hey, you feel that?
You are now tuned into You Feel That with Bryce the Third.
Yo, and welcome to a very special episode of You Feel That with Bryce the Third. I know you like this drip. Ooh. For those listening on a podcast and not watching on YouTube, I'm just showing off my You Feel That with Bryce the Third hat. Very exclusive drip. You'll be able to get you one very soon. As a matter of fact, stay tuned to the end of this show to figure out how it is that you could win one for free. Everybody likes free. I know you like free. Look at this. Sorry to my audio people who don't have a visual behind all this, but go to YouTube and look at the visual so you can see the hat. But everybody listening on the podcast that doesn't have the visual will have equal opportunity to be able to win a hat. I'm excited. Anyways, this is a very, very, very special episode of You Feel That. One in which we're going to do things a little different today. I plan on it being short and sweet, but we're going to see where the answers to these questions go. But today we're taking questions from the community in sort of like a Ask Bryce session. Any of you who follow me on Instagram know that I do Good Talk Tuesdays, which every Tuesday we get together at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and build community. That's a space where you can come and ask me a question in real time, and I will do my best to answer it. I also show up with a little bit of structure, so we usually tackle like some type of idea, and the community that we're building there, small but mighty, and we're growing. And it's like it's just a very lovely concept, a very lovely community, and it's your opportunity to connect with me in real time. Now, here on the podcast, those of you who don't follow me on Instagram need to follow me on Instagram first and foremost at Bryce the Third, BRYCETHETHIRD, your mental and emotional wellness mentor. And when you follow me on Instagram, you can join us for Good Talk Tuesdays every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we get together, like I just said, and have a conversation and create community. So in that community, I put out a request for people to send in questions for the podcast. Questions that they want to ask me or want to hear me kind of like deliberate on at a deeper level than maybe I would on Good Talk Tuesdays. So today we got a few questions from the community that I want to answer. And then I'm going to pull a card from We Are Not Really Strangers, Self-Love Edition. And I'm going to answer that too. And those of you who aren't familiar with We Are Not Really Strangers, it's a card game. They have a couple of different decks. This deck, the Self-Love Edition, is the deck that I have used for the past couple of mornings. I'll journal in the morning, and then after my journal entry, I'll pull a card from this deck, and then I'll kind of expound on the answer and get to know myself a little bit more. And this deck has really helped me to give compassionate understanding to myself and really feel as if I am getting to know myself. And it's like, yo, I'm 32, right? Like, you would think that I would know something about myself, but it's like, wow, like there's so much that I don't know. And that goes to speak on the intentional relationship that we build with ourselves. What tools do you have in place that allow you to see yourself today as you are versus who you used to be, or versus who it is that you're trying to be? Who are you today, and how are you showing up for yourself? How are you showing up to find out more about yourself? How are you showing up to discover new things that maybe you've never known? And it's just like a principle, right? Like, there's certain principles that I've been made aware of that it's like I know it. If you mention it to me, I'll be quick to be defensive. Like, I've already heard that. But as a matter of fact, like in this moment, I might need that principle at a different capacity. So it's the same as that concept where it's like, oh, like I thought I knew me, but like, am I really paying attention to who I am right now today? How can I tap in with who I am today? And that's invaluable. That's an invaluable process. So we're gonna end the episode with one of these questions from We Are Not Really Strangers, and you see where that goes. So before we get into it, this episode is brought to you by my Patreon, Bryce the Third. Look at this. Ooh, Bryce the Third. Ooh. I get it. You're mad emotional. There's not really a supportive place to be yourself, your emotional self. You want to learn how to harness these emotions and use them for good. You no longer want to be debilitated by these heavy emotions, but you want to be empowered by the ways that you feel deeply. You want to dig into more tools, more resources, and overall just take your life to the next level. Well, let me tell you, my friend, you are doing yourself a service by even listening to this podcast, because you are exactly who I made this podcast for. And if you want to help take this podcast to the next level, because I'm always growing and I'd rather grow with friends, hop on over to my Patreon. There's 3 tiers that you could pledge a monthly subscription to. Tier 1 is to show us some monthly love and help us take this thing to the next level perpetually. With Tier 2, you get access to a weekly text group that, trust me, you want to be a part of. With weekly motivation, reminders to give yourself compassion at just the right time, and updates on the newest products before anybody else gets their hands on them. And in Tier 3, not only do you get access to the Tier 2 text group, but you get a special shout out at the end of every episode of You Feel That. So basically, you become a damn celebrity. However you decide to show up is greatly appreciated, and I'm aiming to give you 3 times the value of whatever it is that you put in. Because you know the universe helps those who help themselves. You can find a link to the Patreon page in the show description of whatever you're listening to your podcast on. And if you're on YouTube, it's down there in the description. Now let's get to the show. All right, let's get to it for the show's first segment ever of Ask Bryce. We're going to have to come up with a cooler ass name than that, because that's generic. We're going to have to, you know what I'm saying? This first question comes from young_IGG. I be calling him Young Ig. He shows up to Good Talk Tuesday all the damn time, and you could tell he's dedicated to growth in his own life. Big shouts to him. The question is, if you could meet anyone that's ever lived and ask them one question, who and what would that be? That's a very good question. I feel like there's a couple of people that I would ask questions to. I know it's a couple of people that I would love to have a conversation with for sure. Baba Ram Dass. If I could talk to Ram Dass right now and just like have a conversation with him, that would be super dope. That would be super dope. Ram Dass is like one of my spiritual uncles. I don't fucking know, like what you'd call it, but he's one of those persons that speaks in such a language, and I say speaks because even though he's passed away, his teachings continue to last, and you know how finite are we really, you know? So he continues to live through everything that I listen to that he's produced, and I just really feel like I'd have a great conversation with him just about existence, just about detachment, just about love. Matter of fact, I think I've had those conversations. If you've ever read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, there is a section in there, and I forget what exact section it is, but it's the section where Napoleon Hill would have these meetings with like Benjamin Franklin and Abraham Lincoln. Like he would sit at these round tables and literally be sitting with these people. And I've kind of had these conversations with people. I've had conversations with Nipsey Hussle. I've had conversations with Ram Dass. I've had conversations with Napoleon Hill. I've had conversations with my granny. And so like I've just learned to like have these masterminds with the people that I admire. Like, so I don't really put people on, I really don't put people on a pedestal, because like people will always be people, right? But like the energy that they represent through their teachings or what it is that I admire about them, like I take that energy and I make it become a part of me. So if there's something that I look up to that you stand for or that you teach, like it becomes a part of me now. So everywhere I go, there you are. And this is something that allows me to continue to get outside of myself and outside of what it is that I've considered myself to be, outside of what it is that I've considered myself to identify with. Like I'm always like, it's, you know, I don't know if you've ever played Mortal Kombat, but like Shang Tsung, how Shang Tsung could just suck people's souls and like become them. Like it's definitely not that connotation. Like it's definitely high vibration and good energy. But if I've ever been inspired by you, I absorb you and you become a part of me. And sometimes I make moves pretending like I'm you. Like I'll put my Nipsey Hussle outfit on, and when I make high-powered entrepreneurial moves, I'm Nipsey Hussle right now. When I look to be compassionate, understanding, and seek to create a space of allowance and not resisting, like I put my Ram Dass outfit on. And I'm saying all these things, I guess, to kind of avoid the answer to this question, because I don't even know if I have a specific question for anybody or anything, because like where my mind went to it, I was like, shit, I would talk to God, right? And ask God what the meaning of it all is, right? But then I don't even know if I want to fucking know. I don't know if I want to know. I think I think maybe something that exists within me inherently knows. And maybe I sent myself down here to just have the experience and process it as I had the experience and kind of like remember as I go. Maybe I know I just forgot because I chose to. And I don't know, I don't want to get all weird and shit, but um, I'm less focused on like the one question that I need answered and more focused on the continuous download, the continuous drip of answers that life gives me, and the continuous delivery of the perfect people, places, and things placed in front of me exactly when I need it, like feeding into the flow of life, the life that life has given me, and looking for the answers to maybe even questions that I didn't know how to form, just like this question now, because I have no idea what question I would ask. The next question comes from my good friend Joanne, Instagram name Joanne B430. Her question is, when you started your recovery, did you ever slip back into using, drinking? What helped you? So no. And I used to think of it as kind of like, I don't know, it was a point in my recovery where I thought about it as a disability, especially like when I'm working with other alcoholics. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and like I would think of it like as a disability because I'd be working with people who would relapse over and over and then come back, and I didn't really have a connection to that story. When I got here, I kind of stayed here. I got my ass beat to the point to where I was desperate enough to take anything, and luckily what I found was a new process for life, the process for life that 12 steps had given me, and then that led me to kind of self-discovery as well. When I first got here, a sponsor of mine gave me the AA Big Book, which is like the book in Alcoholics Anonymous that we work out of that has the solution to the alcoholic problem, and also gave me a copy. Well, he didn't even give me a copy. He told me to go get it, of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I went and grabbed it. And so like I started my recovery with those two things, with the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which gave me a new process, which when working through the steps allowed for me to get open and honest, allowed for me to get transparent, allowed for me to share with another human being the nature of the things that I felt that I did, the resentments I was holding against myself and others. It helped me discover a higher power of my own understanding, not the one that I was raised with, and like really gave me this new process for life. Taught me how to assume the responsibility of my life. And then Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill taught me how to like personally develop, how not only I had responsibility for my life, but that I could make my life what it is that I desired for my life to be. Like I can be high powered, and I can create, and I have a hand in the creation of my reality. So those two things put together like really shot me. And it's like at that point in time where I was super desperate and I was just looking for anything that wasn't what it was that I was experiencing, to have these two things come in. And they say, I've heard multiple times, that the universe abhors a vacuum, which means that when you take something out, you got to put something in. And for me, those two things, like a path of personal development and a new way of life with a higher power of my own understanding, plugging that in place of looking for something outside of me externally to fill these holes, like that was more than substantial. So in my 8 years of recovery from substance abuse and alcoholism, I just have not had the experience of having a relapse. I have been in dry drunk mode. So there's this thing called a dry drunk where I'm not drinking, but my quality of life is not the best. I'm resentful, I'm scared, I'm fearful, I'm anxious, I'm all of these things, and I'm not necessarily like working on looking at these things or working at remedying these things by self-work and self-awareness and being compassionate and understanding with myself and others. I'm just white knuckling it. I'm not using, and I'm just gonna continue to do this shit that doesn't serve me, but whatever, I'm just trying to get through life. And it's like, where are we going? So there has been periods where I've been a dry drunk and had been white knuckling it, and that didn't last long because I'm like, especially like we're here because of emotional sensitivity, especially like somebody like me, like I have to have process. So my thoughts in those moments were always, I need to plug in. Like I can't seclude as much as I want to like duck off in solitude and go somewhere where nobody is. I need to do the opposite of that, practice the opposite of what it is that I feel that I want to do, and do what it is that I feel that I need to do, which is find a community. And I was glad to have 12-step at that time to be able to tap into phone numbers to pick up. They say the phone weighs 1,000 pounds, and to pick up the phone and make that phone call and say, yo, I'm struggling, like that's a workout. But once we do it so many times, it becomes like, okay, now I've strengthened my muscle, and I know that when it gets like this, I need to pick up that phone and make that phone call and tap back into my community. So that's what will go through my mind if I ever feel like I'm tripping, I'm struggling. It's like, where's my community? Who can I tap into? Who can I call? And now my community has expanded. Like my definition of recovery has expanded. Like I have multiple communities, not just 12-step that I could tap into. Like I definitely don't have to be alone, like that non-productive alone, that nasty alone. I don't ever have to be that. And there's so many communities of health and wellness and of increased quality of life that I could tap into. And the phone can still weigh 1,000 pounds, but when I pick that boy up, it always gets better inevitably when I plug myself into community and get outside of myself. Thanks, Joanne. I hope that answers your question. All right, so this next question comes from a person who decided to stay anonymous. The question is, sometimes I feel alone or isolated because of how deeply and intensely I feel. I think more of us do than we share or realize. What would you say to someone who feels like they're the only one with such big emotions? Maybe this would be something you'd even say to your younger self. First thing I would say to somebody who has huge emotions is that you're not alone. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I would want to convey to somebody who feels deeply and big, is that you're not alone. There's a whole gang of us. And really, that's one of the biggest reasons behind the creation for me of this podcast, or really a lot of the stuff that I've ever created, is that I want to make sure that I create a community that allows for people who may feel like they are going through it by themselves to realize that they're not going through it by themselves. This experience is more common than you may think. I think it takes for us to be able to tap in a community to really come to the understanding of that, to really come to the realization that we're not alone. Something I would tell to my younger self when it came to dealing with these huge emotions would probably be to embrace it. Embrace these emotions. It's more of a superpower than you think. Most times we'll take these emotions, or we'll take this experience, and we'll try to push it away because we're repelled by the sensitivity around it. We don't necessarily see how important of a role that sensitivity can play in developing our understanding of the world around us. 7 billion people on a planet in different realities. In your reality, and I'm talking straight to you, in your reality is that you're sensitive. You feel things deeply. You can choose to fight that or be repelled by your reality and not embrace the fact that you feel so deep, which is just going to make your sensitivity hug you harder, because everything we resist persists. And what I've learned is that whatever it is that I'm repelled by and that I push away hugs me tight. Or we can embrace it and learn what is there to teach us, and learn how to harness our powers. If you think about like the X-Men, and this might be a crazy example, but like X-Men and Cyclops and Rogue, like learning how to use this power to our advantage, learning not to let our power be a bane, be something that limits us, but learning how to use it responsibly, because with great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man quote. And to just be okay with the fact that nobody may ever have the answer specifically for us, and that the answer may be baked within our experience. So never to run away from the experience, because the experience is going to teach us everything that we need to know about our sensitivity. Continue to show up on a daily basis for yourself. Give yourself understanding and compassion. Give yourself the love that you wish you would receive from somebody else. Your experience is your experience, and there's no running from it. You could try to numb it up. That's what I did. I tried to numb it up using drugs and and distracted myself with relationships and all things externally to distract myself from what it was that I felt on the inside. But I never ran fast enough to get away from it, because wherever I go, there I am. The biggest thing I would convey to somebody who feels big emotions is that you're not alone. You don't have to do it alone. And the tools exist. But nobody's going to come hand you the tools. Nobody's going to come put the tools in your lap. And the tools that work for you might not work for me, even though we both may consider ourselves deep emotional people. You have to discover your tools, and what's going to allow you to discover your tools is the experience that you have. What do you need? And you can't answer that question unless you embrace the experience fully. If we spend our lives resisting and pushing away the experience, we're putting our energy into resisting what is. It'll never go away, but our energy is being put into the resistance. When really, if we embrace the experience and we put our energy into discovering what tools do we need specifically to be able to empower us so that we're not debilitated by our experience, that sounds like a powerful use of our energy. Emotional sensitivity is something else. I'm a man and I'm black. These things aren't the things that are necessarily embraced where I come from. Being emotional has been considered a feminine trait. Being emotional in the black culture has been considered, sit your ass down somewhere, boy. So what? There's specific trauma that black people and black culture that supersedes emotional sensitivity. Who give a fuck about how you feel? Look at what we going through. Look at what we're trying to make it through. Look at the poverty. Look at the shit that you see when you go outside. I literally stayed in neighborhoods where every time I came outside, I'm hearing about somebody else got killed. Fuck, we taking a second to pause and journal for it, bro. Like, you just got flicked by the police in your own driveway with a gun to the back of your head. We don't got time for that. There's rats. There's roaches. We don't got time for that. What I would say to that person is that emotional sensitivity is perfect. Big emotions are huge. No pun intended. What I would tell that person is having this experience is that it's not a bad thing. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to put it away. No matter what, it's important. You're important. Your experience is important. I'm not the only one that's saying this. I'm not the only one that's creating spaces like this. I don't have a monopoly on activating you and your emotional sensitivity in a way that empowers you. There's so many tools. There's so many communities. Get out of your shell and find one. Don't go where you're pushed away and not celebrated. Don't go where people point at you and say, oh, you are a defect. The opposite exists, where people point at you and say, oh, you're one of us. Come give me a hug. And to end it out, what I would tell my younger self is don't wait so long to embrace it. No matter how fast you run, you'll never run away. So don't wait so long. I didn't embrace my sensitivity until I was 24. And it wasn't because I was like, let me embrace my emotional sensitivity. Nah, like I hit a point of desperation in my life where it's like, I can't do this shit anymore. And what I found was something that showed me, oh, you have to face it. You can't run anymore. And at that point I was desperate. So I was like, well, whatever y'all got, I'm gonna do it. So I began to face it and not run anymore. And I sat in the pain, and I sat in the joy, and I sat in the highs, and I sat in the lows, and I began to embrace who it is that I naturally am. You don't have to run. You don't have to run. How you feel is important. There is the space. You could be exactly as you are. You're perfect. And now it's time for a live pull from the We Are Not Really Strangers Self-Love Edition deck. I actually pulled this morning with my journal, in my journaling session, because what I'll do is I'll journal in the morning, and then I'll journal what I feel or what I'm going through and what I'm thinking or whatever epiphanies that I may have, or, what may have changed from yesterday to today. I might jump in and journal throughout the day, but what I've been trying to do is take a card from this deck and then journal about the prompt. So I'm going to do a live pulling to end this episode out and see what it is that I come up with. Somebody been in my shit. My daughter probably been in here fucking up the way it looked. Okay. So it says, reminder, the more you love yourself, the better your love life will be. That's a good reminder. And we'll pull again because, this is one of them pink cards. It's just, it's not a question. But this is deep. The more you love yourself, the better your love life will be. And if you're on YouTube, y'all can drop in the comments, like, what do you even consider a love life to be? I think we can culturally tend to look at that linearly, maybe too linearly. I hope linearly is a word, but I mean like with a linear point of view, like love life, we think automatically like romanticism, girl and boy, boy and boy, girl and girl, whatever like it is, but it's like two different individuals coming together, and that's what love life is. But what I've come to learn like within the past 4 or 5 months is that a love life is just a reflection of my inner process on the external world. Oh shit. A love life is how I treat myself, and then how that reflects off of the experiences that I experience outside of me. Anything that I may see in a woman is just something that I love within myself. That's why I can notice it. When I treat myself with love, respect, understanding, and compassion, I get around people who treat themselves with love, respect, understanding, and compassion, and who exemplify traits that I admire within myself. I can't see something that I'm not. I can't give something that I don't give myself. Love life is not only in, I think we can have this romantic view of love life that kind of clouds us from what the real love is. And I think we're going to do an episode, we're going to do a couple of love episodes on You Feel That. But what I've come to find is there's nothing substantial enough outside of me to sustain me. And that definitely includes another person. If I love somebody, I won't even put that responsibility on their shoulders. Like, you have to be the reason that I'm happy and that I'm fulfilled and that I'm whole. That's like, do I really love you if I put that responsibility on your shoulders? Like, oh, you are my everything. You are the reason why. You are the reason why I'm full. Nah. Because what happens when you fuck up? That doesn't give you a space to be your human. That doesn't allow a space for your humanness. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. And I love you because I love myself and I'm there for me. The more you love yourself, the better your love life will be. Love life may even extend into money. Love life may even extend into presence. Love life may even extend to the ability to be in this moment with my loved ones, with my daughter, with my family, with my son. To really be here, not in the energy of a projection from what was yesterday or what I hope today to be tomorrow, but like to be here in this moment. That's fucking love. That's fucking love. The more you love yourself, the better your love life will be. So this insinuates that process has to begin with what it is that I give to myself. How do I take care of myself? How do I give myself love? And love is such a fucking loaded word. Love is as big as God is. And depending on who you talk to, you'll have a different interpretation of it no matter who it is you talk to. So yeah, we're going to have some love episodes here on You Feel That. We're going to get y'all together. Okay, but this was a reminder card. So I wanted to pull a card to ask the question. So we going to pull another card. If y'all don't mind, I hope y'all having a good time. I am. Second pull from Self-Love edition of We Are Not Really Strangers. What's the biggest improvement I've seen in myself this past year? Sheesh. I think for me, the biggest improvement this year has been my ability to allow life to be what it is. To allow life, all the relationships in it, all of its circumstances to be what it is. And to be okay in self and to love myself. Like to really be all right with like giving myself distance and setting boundaries and knowing what it is that I need to be at my fullest capacity. To learn how to say no. Really the process that I put into taking care of myself and checking in with myself and building tools and process around myself and what it is that I need. And building my environment into an environment that is supportive of who it is that I'm looking to be and what reality I desire to create. That's a big ass improvement. That's a big ass improvement. I also like my communication skills have gone up. And like, that's one of the biggest things that like I'm good at. And if I get better at it, like I'll exponentially get better at it, like versus like something that I'm not the best at. And I kind of like incrementally get better at it. Like communication is as I work on it and continue to like find different modalities to express my creativity through communication, like I just get better. So I really feel like, you know, communication, like when put on a spot, I'm able to get my point across, and I'm able to allow a space for people to feel expressed, as well as my ability to teach. That's what I would say. Cool. Well, this has been a good ass episode. I ain't gonna hold you. A little something different. I don't know about y'all, but I had fun today. I enjoyed myself. And if you enjoyed yourself and you want to win one of these snazzy You Feel That with Bryce the Third hats, go on Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. Then hop on over to YouTube, hop in the comment section and tell me that you did that, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win one of 5 free You Feel That with Bryce the Third podcast hats. You see this boy crispy as heck if you on YouTube. If you're listening to this or watching this before 11/11/2021, you are still eligible to enter for the drawing. Get busy. If you love this episode, share it. I'm pretty sure someone else would love it too. And if you want to buy me a coffee, which I really don't drink coffee, I'm going to use that money that you send on Buy Me a Coffee to support the business of the podcast. But it's called Buy Me a Coffee, so we just going to roll with it. The link to be able to do so is in the show description of wherever you're listening to this podcast at. And if you're on YouTube, it's in the description of the YouTube video. Yeah, and for the final quote of the day, we got one from Louise Hay. Legendary. She say, remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. I'll catch you on the next episode of You Feel That? With Bryce the Third.